So you all know that there were several murders done by Andrew Cunanan before he actually got to Gianni Versace. Let's talk about the murder that actually happened right before Gianni.
And I'm like, come on through, Cookie. I want to put my soapbox. That's basically it. Let's talk about drag and all its forms. What,
Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for part 3 of the assassination of Gianni Versace. In this episode, like I said, they actually did zero in on the murder that actually happened right before the murder of Gianni. It was actually done over in Chicago, Illinois, and it was actually Marilyn Miglin is the woman's name, and it was actually her husband who actually had gotten killed. Marilyn Miglin she was like a perfume connoisseur, and she had her own perfume line. They were rich. He was a businessman, and he developed properties basically. He was very successful. He had a dream of the tallest skyscraper that there actually was. It was taller than the Sears building, and he was very interested, very quiet man who liked to be in the background. Because this thing that stuck out with me, that he said he wanted to build this skyscraper basically, and he didn't want it named after him. He wanted to be able to be so inconspicuous that he could actually go up to the top, because there was actually an overlook that you could actually see down onto the other building that was actually the tallest before that, which was the Sears building. And he said he wanted to be able to walk amongst the people and just eavesdrop on their conversations and hear what they had to say about how awesome it was, but they not even know that it was him. So that was kind of what his personality was. Let's talk a little more about him. He was actually, he was a person who actually, he was battling with his gay. Okay. He was a Christian faith. He had a whole room, like a prayer room, and you could see he went in there. They showed a piece where he went in there and he was, crying about his sin and saying, I really try, and I just can't help it. And he's the old queen. He couldn't help it. We seen him sneaking and putting on his wife's perfume. I said, oh, you one of them, honey. All right, girl. I said, okay, poor thing. But, they had kids and the whole 9 yards. So anyway, this is in May of 97. Okay. So we start off, she's actually, because she would go to Toronto. Marilyn would go to Toronto to actually film. It was like a QVC type of thing. But we're filming in Toronto. She comes back home. She lands at home and she can't get in touch with her husband. She's like, what the hell's going on? She pulls up from the house. She gets dropped off. She has her luggage. She goes in the house, and it's so much like me. You go through the door, she could just tell something was not right. And she actually back out of the door. And it was so funny because here I go with me and my stuff. One time, my house had actually been robbed. And I'm very much that way. Like, I know how things are. I lived alone. This is before I had my children or any of that. And my house had actually been broken into. And I went through the front door, and I never passed the door frame. I knew, and I'm lying. It wasn't before I had my children. I actually had one of them. I had Trayvon. He was probably about, I got on, he was 18 months. This happened Yeah. Trey was still like maybe 2. He was like 2 at the time. And because I remember because I was holding him. And that's the reason why I didn't go, like I didn't actually go into the house. I opened the door and I knew something wasn't right because something was moved, but it was slightly moved. It wasn't a whole lot, but I know I'm very funny about my surroundings. And me and my mother had laughed about that, but I had Trayvon on my hip and I literally backed back out of the door and I called 911 and all of that. She did the exact same thing. She knew the things weren't really moved around. It was just a dead silence, and she just got like a bad eerie feeling, and she back out of the door, and her neighbors were coming down the street. They're like, "What's going on?" And the neighbors kind of jumped in. The husband goes through the house. He's looking around, and things didn't seem too off, but they couldn't find her husband. Eventually, they get the police involved. The police come. They are looking around. They end up finding the husband over in the garage. And you hear the neighbor woman scream. And by this time, Ms. Marilyn Miglin had gone into the house. She was sitting in the kitchen at the breakfast nook that they had. And she was tapping her fingers on the nook. And when she heard the woman scream, she said, "I knew it. I knew it." She just, it was so eerie. I was like, ugh. So I was like, oh, wow. Um, so crazy. But anyway, then that all went on. That happened. And then we ended up going through, and they noticed right away that the Lexus was missing. We go back through what actually happened. It was so messed up because she had actually asked him to come with her. She asked him to come with her. And he was like, well, no, And he had gotten a phone call the night before, with Andrew Cunanan telling him, I'm going to be in town, I'm going to be in Chicago. And he was like, oh, good. Here we found out Andrew was was an escort. And they had actually had met up before and everything. He was being paid and all of this stuff. Just ridiculous. But he's sneaking around and all of this, and he stayed on home, and he met his demise. He should have took his ass to Canada with his wife. As we go on, we kind of figured out, honey, Marilyn Miglin was a mess. She was a hot mess. She's all for show, honey. She's a rich woman, honey. She's a rich white woman, honey. She's all for show. She knew that her husband was a bit risk queen, honey, and that she was his beard, honey. I think they were in love at one point, and then it just was, this is my husband, and we have these issues, and it just is what it is. You know what I mean? And she played this game, and I was like, wow, she's deep. Anyway, but all of that being said, Andrew was the escort. Andrew came in. They had some talks, and he was like, Andrew, just pretend, It was like that whole thing. He gave him the whole persona. Oh, yeah, I really like you because you don't like that old motherfucker and all of that. And it was that whole thing. They played it all out. But he took him down into the garage. And so, again, this whole freaky S&M. And I don't even know if it's S&M. It's just weird. Just taping people's face and mouth and stuff up. He taped him up, tied his legs together, punched him, and broke his nose. He got him laid out on the ground. Because he was kind of talking kind of reckless to him at first. I was like, what's going on with that? Because you see Andrew's crazy was coming out. But he get him down there, he lays him down, he tied his feet, taped him all up around his mouth, put the glove in his mouth. Got him laying on the floor over by the one car. And he literally punched him in the face and broke his nose. Remember, he's an elderly man. Got him laying down there, climbs up on top of him, and then tells him, what do you think is worse? To die or to be humiliated and exposed? I said, you're a whole lot. You're a whole lot, Andrew. And again, I was at that point where I was like, I could really take him and wring his neck. I really could. Um, he told him, he whispered in his ear, he said, I know you don't have your hearing aid on, but I'm going to speak it to you louder so you can hear me. You're going to be found wearing panties, and you're going to be surrounded with gay porn, so everybody will know everything about you and know that you're a sissy with a broken wrist. I was like, just mean. Mean. Then he took cement. There was like some cement blocks that were out there because they're out in the garage, and just dropped them on his chest and carrying on, and then took and stabbed him down in his chest with a screwdriver or something. I'm like, what the hell is her problem? She's really that Madame Cunanan, honey. She was a real whack job, and he just did all these things to this man, and I'm like, this is horrible. And you had no reason to kill that man, no reason whatsoever. So he did all of this. He stayed all night at the house. Stole. Remember the gold coins that he was actually pawning? Those he got them from that man. He stole them from Mr. Miglin. Those were, all these little things. And he was so sloppy. He had so many clues. He was sloppy, but the FBI was so screwed up in this. The FBI just ought to be ashamed to even let this be aired, for anybody to know that they dropped the ball as many times as they did, because a couple of these people shouldn't even been dead, because the FBI did such a shitty job with tracking Andrew Cunanan. He was a straight up serial killer. Like, as we're seeing this, he was literally a straight up serial killer. They did the job they did, the FBI did, it was a shit show. It really was. Anyway, you'll see as we're going on. He took the Lexus. He goes on. Again, Marilyn Miglin wants to keep everything hush hush because she's playing right past it. Like, when all the stuff was coming out about the gay stuff and all that, she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to hear nothing about that, and you better not say it. You know how money is, honey. She was going through all that. The police was dancing around her and tiptoeing and carrying on. I said, she's ridiculous. But they were like, that's fine. They actually had a lead on Andrew. They found his car a block away that he had already had coming from Oklahoma, I think is where he came from, where the last murder was done before this one. He took the Lexus. So the Lexus was gone, but there was a cell phone in the Lexus, and he didn't even realize it, that the cell phone, every time he was in the car, it was steadily tracking him. And they were tracking it. And then they were doing a real good job of it, because he had made it all the way to, I think, Philadelphia. He was on the move. And then there was a mistake made. Someone leaked information to the news about the tracking of the car phone. And he ends up tearing the car phone out and all of that. In the midst of all of this, all that damn Marilyn Miglin kept saying was, it was a robbery and a random killing. And I don't care what you found out about Andrew Cunanan. We don't know nothing about him. I don't know that man. She had created a whole story of her, and I said, that wasn't the story, bitch. That wasn't the story, honey. And there was money missing and all that. That wasn't the story. Some suits and stuff, all of that. They were like, they knew each other. The way this man stayed up in here, and he spent the night after he killed him. They were like, you can tell us anything you want, baby. Your husband was a queen, but okay. That was fine. Whatever, girl. Anyway, so they go through all of that. Andrew now needs to get rid of the Lexus. And this was the part that took me over the side, where I said, you know what? Somebody needs to wring his neck, because he's doing too much. He literally goes, he's like scouting people to see who he's going to steal their car from them. And I'm like, okay, and I didn't see this coming. I said, all right. He ends up seeing this nice older man. He's like a nice older man. He's delivering mail and carrying on. But he worked at the mortuary, okay, in the middle of the cemetery. He follows him in there. Comes in, and the man comes in, had like a red truck, don't remember the red truck. He had the red truck and he put his keys on the desk. And he comes in. Andrew comes in, pulls the gun on the man because nobody's there. The people that usually work by themselves. Works there, pulls the gun on him. He tells him, he says, I came here. He said, just calm down. I came here to steal your truck. Do you all have a basement? And he's like, yeah. Do you have a downstairs? He said, yeah. He says, a basement. Yeah. He said, can I lock you in it? He's like, yeah. And he's like, move away from the keys. I'm going to steal your truck. I'm going to lock you in the basement. And he was like, that's fine. So he told him, he said, they walked down the steps. He's still holding the gun on him. And he says, okay. He's like, all right, that's fine. He said, get on your knees. And the man said, listen, sir, if you're planning on killing me, please don't. I mean, he started talking about his family and his kids. And he was like, they're young. And I really want to see them again. And just do what you're going to do and take the car or whatever. He didn't even let him finish. He blew this man's head off. Execution style. And it just made me, I was sitting here and literally I wasn't expecting that one. Like I thought he was just going to lock him up and go on. He killed that man, execution style, just blew that man's head off. It made me jump. And then I just got so angry. I got so angry because it was so unnecessary. What was that about? Now, why did you need to do that to him? He was an elderly man. Why did you need to do that? You just a sick old son of a bitch. I said, oh, honey, you're going to burn. You are going to burn. You're going to burn. That was just so, and it was bad enough, the Miglin man, because he was a senior citizen too. But then you just literally, you got two seniors under your belt. All about what? The man was giving you the car. He was giving it to you. He poses no threat at all. The Miglin man was sitting around paying you way more money than what you actually deserved. Because we seen you, and I doubt very seriously that you was really throwing it back so deep that you deserved thousands of dollars. You girl, he could have found much prettier call girls than you, Miss Cunanan bitch. Oh, I got so mad at that thing. I was so done. I was so done. Tonight's episode, very good, but it left me very, very angry. I was very angry with him. Very angry. But yeah, anyway, I'm out of here. I'm getting done with this. I'm done. This was part 3. Yeah, between Andrew and his bullshit and that damn Marilyn Miglin and her goddamn fairy tale life shit. Anyway, all right, you guys, it was good. Keep watching. I'll catch y'all next week for part 4. All right, later.